Why entry-level jobs require experience? That doesn't add up. Back in my day when I graduated college and I applied for entry-level positions to start my career, that wasn't a thing. We actually had some common sense. Logic was applied. So when I started my career, I would apply for an entry-level position, and the employer knew, all right, this guy's coming in with no real-world experience. Now, having a college degree back then actually meant something, and they knew that you got at least get some experience, possibly with the university itself, plus internships and that type of thing. But nowadays it's different. Nowadays entry level jobs, they actually expect you to have 3 to 5 years experience. Make that make sense.
Found this article in the Wall Street Journal the other day. If you don't subscribe, you might not be able to read it, but it's basically saying there's a full-blown job crisis right now for recent grads. So the unemployment rate for young people is at the highest it's been in over a decade. And what's crazy is that entry-level jobs are asking for 3 to 5 years of experience. Like, what? How is that entry level? I mean, it's totally insane. And I really feel for college grads, if you're spending all this time and money and effort to get a degree, and when it's time to actually get your career started, it kind of feels like the door is locked.
Comment says the problem is many jobs exist the way they do because they're supposed to train people in addition to college. Yeah, I know, crazy idea, right? But now companies refuse to do so while they're demanding more. Imagine if doctors or surgeons couldn't get accepted to a residency after college. Yeah, that'd be a literal nightmare. Gone are the days of on-the-job training, sounds like. Article here is discussing why companies require experience. So here's the answer to why entry-level jobs require experience. No, and these answers, they're not good. Required experience for an entry-level job is a common practice used by employers to reduce costs, minimize risk, and filter through the large number of applicants. And that may all be true, but that's a bad thing for all of us out there looking for a job. Though it seems contradictory, the request experience offer includes transferable skills gained through internships, volunteer work, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we get it. Internships are a great thing, especially if they're paid. But what I've seen in recent times, even the internships, they're non-paid because they want more free labor to save the bucks. Yeah. So they want to reduce training time and costs. Sure, they do. Companies want new employers who can contribute quickly and with minimal investment. So they want you to get in, you get onboarded, and you hit the ground running, meaning, oh, you already know what we want you to know for this job. Well, even if you were a seasoned employee, let's say you have 5, 10 years experience in your field. You start a new job, you're still going to need to learn the ropes. Even if you know the core skills that need to perform your duties, how does that job perform in that work environment? Each one of the environments is going to be different. You're going to have to learn at least that much, let alone actual skills to do the job. They use it as a screening tool. With hundreds of applicants for a single position, a hiring manager may add this experience as a requirement. That way they can quickly reduce the applicant pool. I can see that it's not the great approach, but nowadays there's apps out there where we can just spam submit your resume to a bunch of jobs, even if you're not qualified to do that position. That is a thing now. Although that is at our end of it, that's our response to the craziness of the job market right now. Another answer to why companies require experience for an entry-level job is to demonstrate a track record. Experience serves as proof that the candidate can achieve results and apply their skills in a real-world environment. And that part's important. You got to have the skills in the real world. There's no doubt about that. An employer hiring for a sales position, for example, might prefer a candidate with customer service experience, as it shows they actually have an ability to communicate effectively. All right, now that, once again, that adds up. That makes some sense. You got to understand, though, the reason they're wanting experience for these entry-level jobs, It all boils down to they just don't invest in the employee anymore. Another answer: to hire skilled workers for less pay. There we go. Now the truth comes out. It's always about the bottom dollar. It's always about the money. You don't want they don't want to train you, but let alone if you've seen the recent job descriptions out there, plenty of jobs out there, they have the wish list. And the wish list is just that, it's a wish. They're dreaming. But they're hoping some sucker, I mean potential candidate, will apply for that low paid job that has high demands. And then there's the unrealistic manager expectations. Oh, you think? Unrealistic expectations. Now, who would have thought that? Sometimes the hiring requirements come from a manager's wish list rather than a true necessity for the job. There you go. Yes. I've personally seen that in my career where you got this job description, it's a mile long, and if you're in the industry and you're familiar with the different positions in your career, then you're going to realize, okay, well, that part of the job description is a job X. But this other part of the job description, that's really a job Y. These are two separate positions. You could tell when you get some experience in your field, yeah, you know how it's divvied up. And yet I've seen it personally, and I've seen it for years. It's not a new thing, where they got the two combined because that's the wish list. They're hoping they can find someone that can fill it with those requirements. But they're only going to pay you one salary. And it's probably going to be all that great. That's who we are.
According to a study of over 3.8 million jobs on LinkedIn, roughly 38.4% of entry-level jobs required 3 to 5 years of experience, with industries such as manufacturing and software services demanding well over 50%. I want to address the many reasons why the entry-level job is being plagued with unrealistic expectations. To properly represent the complexities of the entry-level job, a once straightforward role, we'll be using the state-of-the-art Scooby-Doo sandwich. Beginning with, everyone needs to start somewhere, just not with us. From the end of World War II and leading up to the 80s, corporations filled roughly 90% of their vacancies through promotions and lateral assignments, causing a substantial emphasis on the entry-level position. The goal was to hire someone with good manners and a determination to work hard, as the company could then provide the potential candidate with a career trajectory, the necessary training to allow that to happen, and a fruitful pension plan as a way of rewarding company loyalty. While this representation of the entry-level job is what most candidates strive to find today, unfortunately the events that followed the 70s largely shaped what entry-level means today. The 80s and 90s began a relentless pursuit for efficiency in an attempt to improve the bottom line. Many American jobs were being replaced with the increase in globalization, as automation and outsourcing were the prioritized method of delegating most roles. Along with this shift, companies found it was more cost-effective to recruit skill sets rather than train them, as only 24% of current vacancies are now filled with internal candidates, a 66% decrease in just the last 50 years, with only 28% of talent acquisition leaders reporting that internal candidates are an important source to fill vacancies. As companies really began to prioritize recruiting skill sets instead of training skill sets, it brings us to our first issue that candidates as well as employers are facing. You need skills to get a job that'll teach you skills that requires a piece of paper when you should have been getting skills.
Hello, you've reached the house of unrecognized talent. Please start after the...
With the shift of planning for attrition rather than training for retention, companies have really begun to paint themselves into a corner, leaving a nation of raw talent feeling confused on the effective steps to be able to jumpstart their career. As companies invest 4 times as much into recruiting as they do training, it discourages the true purpose of the entry-level job entirely, as it is more cost-effective to provide as little training as possible, and instead demand the skill set is already provided. However, the entry-level job is also in demand, as 92% of executives think the American workers aren't as skilled as they need to be, with Forbes reporting that 59% of employees have no actual workplace training and are entirely self-taught.
Comment. It also traps overqualified workers in dead-end jobs instead of letting them progress in their career. Yeah. Oh, you heard it. The employers, They have no interest in training. They're no longer want to invest in the employee like they did in the old days. And they did that for decades and decades. Our parents, grandparents, so on and so forth, they're trained. Typically, someone like your grandpa, right out of high school, graduates, goes to a job, no experience. That's it. No experience. Usually some kind of blue collar job. If there's that, maybe had a class or two in high school, shop, woodworking, all that type of stuff. Possibly that was a bit of experience, but overall, they had no experience. They show up, they get hired, and off they go. We're so far from that now. That's not even fathomable in young people's mindset. Really? You just go straight out of high school, forget college, no experience. They hire you. They train you on the job, all while they're paying you a living wage. Imagine that, a living wage with no experience. They don't even pay living wages for people with experience nowadays.
What we are seeing as requirements in these postings are just exaggerated wish lists of a hiring manager. In fact, a 2018 survey found that applicants who could meet at least 50% of a posting's requirements were just as likely to get an interview as applicants who met 90% of a posting's requirements. Except this is met with one frustrating mystery: the application tracking system. A survey done in 2023 stated that 98.8% of Fortune 500 companies use ATS. ATS screen and filter resumes to optimize and discover the best candidates for the available position. And while most listings may be exaggerated wish lists, the ATS system doesn't necessarily know that to be the case. In its pursuit of efficiency and keyword optimization, 75% of applications are never actually seen by humans. HR tech journalist J.R. Donovan states that 88% of employees believe that ATS actually screen out the quality applications with the applicable skill sets because their applications are not best suited to the ATS software. And in this continuous pursuit of efficiency and increasing the bottom line, we arrive to the bun on top of the sandwich, the outsourcing of domestic jobs. Less than 61% of human resource leaders said that in 2023, they were hiring for entry-level and less specialized positions, down from 79% in 2022, according to a PwC survey. And employers expect 23% of all roles to be disrupted in the next 5 years due to the rate in which technology is developing, according to research of the World Economic Forum. Lastly, according to Forbes, it is estimated that approximately 300,000 US jobs are outsourced every year, and largely these are directly taking what would have typically been entry-level positions. So in reality, even if the application process was perfect, simply just the removal of promoting internal hires, and instead hiring from outside companies or just outsourcing it altogether, we can see the entry-level job as a whole is just continuously getting replaced. So then we get the olive on top of this Scooby-Doo sandwich, the real meaning of entry-level. Now for most of us, we have the foolish understanding that entry-level means no experience, no training, and is simply a place for us to be able to get our foot in the door and jumpstart our careers.
Those words, is it possible to use them in a sentence together like that?
Unfortunately, in most instances, it appears that entry-level means asking for experience at a discounted rate. Entry-level jobs that require 2+ years of experience pay 20% less than other jobs that require 2+ years of experience, which leaves you in a position, if you're wanting to start your career or make a career shift in a way that participates in the societal norm of the labor force, you're largely having to take a massive bite out of this Scooby sandwich.
Comment here. They told me I need a master's degree to work at their grocery store deli. A master's degree. A master's degree? It doesn't even matter what the master's degree is in. The fact that they're requiring a master's degree, that you go to school that many years and spend a ton of money so you can make sandwiches. That says it all right there. That's where their mindset's at. That's insane. That's beyond insane. Now, many times I use the term bizarro world or Twilight Zone. This is it, man. This is it. Because no one needs a master's degree, even in finger painting, to make sandwiches. Somebody with a half a brain can work at a deli. It's not that hard. It's an honest job, no doubt about it, but you don't need a master's degree. So what can we do? because this is a disaster. It's a mess. You can't even apply logic and reason to this. It's not like you can sit down with the parents and they go, well, son, here's the path that I took. No, because I don't know. So amongst all this insanity, what can we do? Since you can't apply the past path that our parents and generations before us took to achieve some success, none of that stuff applies, although we have decades of historical proof on how that process worked. Parents today can't tell their kids their personal experience for it to apply to them in today's reality. The job market's insane, like many things in American society. So what can we do? Well, here's some possible tips. I say possible because job market's trash. So this is about the best that we have. How to get an entry-level job without experience. It's traditional methods. They don't apply. But all we have is what we've done thus far. You can highlight your transferable skills, identify and showcase the skills from your academic or volunteer internships, that type of thing. If you're lucky enough to have a paid internship, possibly some of those skills, that might be something you could put on your resume as something appealing to the employer. I think that's one of the best ideas and tips that we can actually apply, because if you actually got something like that, an actual skill that you learned from your internship, that's great. We can pursue internships if we haven't been fortunate enough to land one, or apprenticeships. Now the apprenticeships, that's more for the trades. Nowadays, those guys, they have more opportunity when it comes to apprenticeships. For the white collar workers, if you're lucky to get any type of internship, non-paid, unfortunately, it's becoming a thing now, because once again, it's the employer's way of screwing you, because they don't want to screw you in one way. They want to screw you every possible way. Anything for their bottom line to be better. Yeah, it has nothing to do with your benefit. Networking effectively. Networking, that tip's been around forever. My point with that is I'm not a huge fan of networking in my personal experience, because networking, especially with today's society, it seems very fake. I mean, the way everybody's so cutthroat nowadays, many people aren't friends with their coworkers. You can't trust anybody. When you're networking, it's basically the system of use and be used. We'll remember each other. So in a year or two, 5 years down the road, when one of us is unemployed, we're going to come a call and say, hey, got a job opening at your place? And that type of thing. So take it or leave it. It doesn't hurt, so you can add it to the list. Consider volunteering. Volunteering is always a good thing. It's been around forever. Volunteering, especially for a place in need, that's not a bad thing. If you're able to volunteer in an environment which is related to your career, that would definitely help you out. Because if anything, you're at least picking some experience in your field that will transfer to your career, as well as you might make a good contact. Someone there may be, it'd be like damn near winning the lotto, but you never know. Someone there could be someone of importance at a company that happens to be looking for a guy like you. Maybe. It's a long shot, but it never hurts to volunteer. If not for your career, just for the fact you're helping others out. That's what America should be about. And you can apply anyway. Yes, we have seen that, man. You apply anyway. Those apps out there. Hey, my resume. Oh, I got one bullet point on that job description. Oh, good enough for me. Spam. Because that's what people are doing. And I don't blame them. I don't personally spam, but I can see people's reaction to spam, because look how the big businesses are treating us. It's been the worst ever in recent times. So if they're going to play games, we might as well checkmate them whenever we can. So if that's a move that you think is valuable, then go ahead, apply anyway. Why not? Can't hurt. So there's where we are, guys. Why entry-level jobs require experience. Because employers, they don't no longer want to train you. They want to invest in you. They want to hire you with the skills to hit the ground running. They know the job market's a disaster. And back during the lockdown, people with experience were getting hired for roles that were actually probably beneath their skill set, which pushed out a new batch of entry-level people, and then they maintained those positions with the skill set. And then the employers, on top of that, the employers are not thrilled with the college graduates being produced nowadays. So it's a perfect storm, and it's all against the new kid fresh out of college. He's screwed. This is our way of managing it. If you enjoy my content, I appreciate if you share, like, and subscribe, and leave a comment, because I want to hear from you guys. What is your experience? Because that's what this is about, the real world experience, not all the yapping on social media, and it's just hearsay. I want real people talking about their real experiences, because that will give everyone a better understanding on what's going on in society in the United States right now, because there's a lot going wrong. And this is a good example of it. So leave a comment. I want to hear from you. I'll see you guys in the next round.